Welcome everyone back to weekly weather updates, and in today's video I'm going to have the latest from the live radar, run through the weather warnings. We do have a thunderstorm warning issued for this evening for parts of southern England, southwestern England and South Wales, as we do see some really hefty showers moving in from the southwest that you can see on the live radar at the moment. In the last sort of couple of runs they have increased in intensity, and that's why I think we have got this warning now issued. We'll have a look at the latest UKV, looking at these thunderstorms in detail over the next 24 hours, and generally looking at the precipitation and temperature over the coming days, as it is going to be fairly unsettled the next couple of days before it does turn a little bit drier towards the middle of the week. That's not because we're seeing any higher pressure build in, but it's because we're seeing northerly winds pushing in, bringing in much colder air from the Arctic. And of course, with it being cold, dry air, it does mean that there are less showers and less cloud. Not zero, but much less than what we're seeing at the moment, as we have a pretty warm, humid air coming in from the southwest. We'll have a look at the longer range as well, looking at the latest GFS, GEM, ECNWF and the ensembles to see what is in store over the next few weeks, as we could be seeing a very changeable October with colder spells, maybe warmer spells, wetter, stormy spells and drier spells as well. And after the colder air clears this weekend, things are still up for debate, and we'll have a look at what those latest runs are showing in the second half of the video. So do remember, if you enjoy my videos, make sure you like and subscribe, and remember to follow me on Twitter as well, the link's in the description. Now if you start on the live radar, you can see lots of heavy thundery showers moving through much of northern Europe at the moment. We do have this band here that's moving into southwest England, slowly pushing northwards and eastwards. It's a larger area of rain with some embedded thunderstorms within it around a small area of lower pressure. Now this is going to slowly move northwards and eastwards over the course of Monday evening into Tuesday morning, and we do, as I said, have a yellow warning issued for these regions. Now it will lose its intensity as it moves northwards and eastwards, but as it slowly clears through Tuesday, then it leaves a big array of scattered thunderstorms through the afternoon. And again, I wouldn't be surprised if we actually saw a warning issued for that through tomorrow morning as well. Not got one at the moment, but from the looks of the latest runs, I wouldn't be surprised if that is issued. Now some of you might not have watched the last video or two, will be asking what is going on with ex-Hurricane Kirk. Now that was a big talk in our videos late last week, and I've seen a lot over social media buzz about that as well. Now it's positioned at the moment somewhere out in the North Atlantic, but you do put on the future radar, hopefully it'll actually pop up. So this system out here, this is ex-Hurricane Kirk, and it is now transformed into an extra tropical system, i.e. it's no longer having its tropical characteristics and is instead turning into a more generic North Atlantic low, fueled by cold air mixing with warm air instead of the hot air that it was originally formed and when it was a hurricane out in the mid-Atlantic. Now at the moment it is tracking straight eastwards, and it's just going to clear the north of Spain and Portugal, and then it's going to slam into the Bay of Biscay and northern France. We could just about see the peripheries of it now, but the runs that were showing it heading potentially through southern England have now completely disappeared, and we're about 95% sure it's going to be tracking through northern France, with us seeing very little impacts. It does have a little bit of a knock-on impact for us. It's bringing in the colder air even quicker, and more substantial colder air, because it's positioned further southwards. It tightens the isobars to the north and the west, allowing that northerly flow to come in a little bit faster. So actually, although we're not going to see any severe impacts from it, we're not going to see the very strong winds, 70-80 miles per hour possible, and the heavy rain, we are going to see very cold air though, as it does slowly push to our south and clears away. But at the moment, it actually is pretty mild and pretty warm, and that's because we've got southwesterly winds, and that warm air is fueling these thunderstorms. You can see through this afternoon, recording this around 6 p.m, temperatures are still in the mid to high teens, which is very mild indeed for early October. And yeah, it's just because we've got this air mass coming in straight from the southwest. Now, if you look at the weather warnings, we've got this thunderstorm warning issued for much of southern England, southwest England and South Wales. Came into force at 4 p.m. and expires at midnight. And it's for heavy showers, and thunderstorms may cause disruption, particularly to travel. later on Monday. Now, it was only put into force at 9 a.m. this morning, so quite a short time frame to issue this warning. But you can see it is medium likelihood and lower impact. And if we look at some of the further details, it's an area of heavy showers and thunderstorms may move northwards across southern parts of England and Wales later on Monday, clearing northwards overnight. Some places may see 20 to 30 millimetres of rain in a few hours, and 40 millimetres is possible in a few spots. Again, it's your bog standard thunderstorm warning. It does look pretty lively out there on the latest live radar, a little bit more lively than the latest UKV has produced, as we'll look at in a minute. UKV definitely does start to lose its intensity over the coming hours, so it'll be interesting to see whether we see that same drop off in the storm activity that we're seeing in the live radar at the moment as well in reality. So yeah, we'll have to wait and see. I do think, though, there is a plausible sort of reason to put in another warning for tomorrow, for Tuesday, and that's because, again, there does look like there could be some more lively scattered thunderstorms. Doesn't look as organised, but it does look really quite hefty indeed, and we'll see that now on the latest UKV. Now, if you run through the rest of this evening, you can see that heavy, thundery rain moving in from the southwest. It slowly heads northwards and eastwards and does lose a little bit of its intensity, but still actually maintains some of its strength on southern and eastern coasts as it slowly clears northwards. As we head into Tuesday, though, it turns briefly drier as we do see those areas of showers do clear away, but through the morning into the early afternoon we start to see more widespread hefty showers develop across much of England and Wales, and some more hefty showers across northern England. You can see they are fairly beefy in size and in intensity, some dark oranges and reds in there indicating torrential rain and the risk of further thunderstorms. So from the looks of this, I am surprised we don't have another warning in force, even just a precautionary warning for scattered thunderstorms, because as I said, it does look really quite lively through Tuesday afternoon. Eventually those storms will slowly degrade away, but it does look like they'll last through much of the evening, especially along the southern and eastern areas, and I wouldn't be surprised to see some quite large accumulations of rainfall here, where we do have these very high intensities, yes, on and off. But all you need is an hour or two of those oranges and reds, and you could be seeing flash flooding. So I am, pretty surprised we've not seen a warning issued for that. But we'll have to wait and see what is put out tomorrow. Maybe the Met Office is just waiting for more runs this afternoon. Now, if you go into Wednesday, you can see eventually we do start to see dry conditions, but still rain in the south and the east through Monday, through the morning. And then by the evening, it's much drier and we start to see clearer, drier air moving in. But that's associated with this much colder air mass, where we start to see a bit of snow over the higher ground of Scotland. Now, through much of Thursday into Friday, it's dry. Yes, a few showers around, wintry in nature, but it is generally relatively dry and relatively sunny and pleasant, but feeling very cold indeed, as we see a truly Arctic air mass moving in, 8 to 10 degrees below average for many regions. And as I said, with those colder temperatures, we could see frosts, especially later on in this period, perhaps into the weekend, where we start to see the air moving less. Of course, with frosts, especially when we don't have some kind of severe cold air mass, does need lower winds to allow those temperatures to really drop towards the surface, and that's something we could see into the weekend. You can see, though, at the moment we've got pretty mild air in, upper air temperatures around the mid to high single digits, but it's really as we head through Tuesday into Wednesday, look at all that cold air drifting in from the north and taking over through Thursday and Friday and lingering into the weekend. Even though the upper air temperatures slowly climb up, with cold air still at the surface, relatively cool air still aloft, we could still see a relatively cold weekend as well. Now, if you look at the max temperatures, see this afternoon, 17, 18 degrees, not bad at all for early October. And the same could be said for Tuesday. Again, 17, 18 degrees, pretty mild indeed. But into Wednesday, much, much colder in the north, maybe even a frost in northern areas through Wednesday morning, and temperatures not getting much above the single digits during the day. But in the far south, still 16, 17 degrees. But that all changes into Thursday. We see quite a widespread frost for Scotland, perhaps isolated frosts elsewhere. But by Thursday afternoon, we're hardly getting into the double digits. Most are 6 to 10 degrees, so much, much colder. And these are the thermometer temperatures. You add on the wind chill, it'll feel a good few degrees cooler than this. So a real shock coming, especially in those southern areas, where it goes from 18 degrees to 10 degrees in the matter of 12 to 24 hours. As we progress through Thursday night, potentially a frost developing where we see clearer skies, and the same for Friday. It's cold, but not quite as cold as that shock factor has dissipated in the air mass slowly nudges up, maybe more 10 to 12 degrees, and again we could see more frosts into Saturday, but I think again it will be all dependent on shower and cloud amounts. So you can see we are seeing a real big change this week. It is kind of a week of two halves, starting the week pretty warm and mild and muggy, with thunderstorms, and ending it much colder with northerly winds. Now, if you go over and have a look at the long range charts now, let's start on the latest GFS. This has just come out, so I actually haven't fully gone through it yet. So I'll be looking at this at the same time as you are. You can see ex-Hurricane Kirk out in the North Atlantic, heading straight into France now. But as it clears to our south, you can see the direct northerly is much stronger and much earlier than it was showing a couple of days ago. And that's why later this week it's turned even colder than it was showing. A good few degrees colder than it was showing late last week. Now, we stay pretty cold with northerly flow or northwesterly flow through much of the weekend. We start to see more stagnant air through Saturday and Sunday, i.e. high pressure building in, wind speeds lower. That could allow further frosts. But as we head into early next week, we see the wind direction shift back to a southwesterly, and it won't turn it warm, but it will be a little bit milder, and we'll see temperatures probably back into the low to mid-teens. And then you can see kind of up and down conditions, a bit of Scandinavian high trying to build, but still trying to see the westerly flow coming in off the Atlantic, and there's a bit of a battle there between westerly winds and easterly winds. Again, midwinter, we'd have a little bit more interest as that, because there could be warm air coming up against very cold air, but this time of year it is more a clash of kind of average sort of air, so nothing too substantial. The big difference we would see between more of a westerly flow and more of an easterly flow would all be down to precipitation. It'd be much drier coming in off the near continent than if we saw a westerly flow. So that's something we'll keep an eye on as we head into next week. Now, if you look at the latest GM as well, this has just come out. So again, first time looking at this with you. Again, Kirk to our south, very strong northerly winds coming in for the rest of this week. Eventually, that gets pushed away, and we see a westerly flow return for next week. Actually, a bit of high pressure, again, building towards our east. That is definitely cropping up now more and more in the models. Not completely winning out, though. We do still see a bit of a westerly flow at times, but still milder easterly flow could prevail if we are lucky. And then finally, the latest ECMWF. Again, Kirk clearing to our south, northerly winds pushing in, eventually getting cut off during early part of next week. And then we do start to see generally better conditions, but still oscillating between low pressure and higher pressure. But it definitely does look like more of a milder pattern than what we're seeing at the moment. Now, if you finish by looking at the latest ensembles, you can see this well reflected here. These are the 6 o'clock runs, as the midday ensembles hasn't come out yet, but the 6 o'clock you see generally around average over the next few days, with some higher precipitation due to those showers and storms. Temperatures dropping off massively towards the middle of the week to end of the week. Temperatures maybe 8 to 10 degrees below average there. Our average should be 6 or 7. We're down to maybe -4 or maybe -5 at the peak. So yeah, very cold indeed. Slowly rising into early next week. But you see, while it's cold, it's actually pretty dry. So it's not going to be too bad if you don't mind putting an extra layer or two on. And the longer term one, generally around average, maybe slightly above, with moderate amount of precipitation. So it follows on what we saw from the operational runs, where we're kind of up and down between high pressure and low pressure, but with generally mild air. If we look at the 2-meter temperatures, again, massive drop off later this week, down to maybe just about double digits for London, which is cold for this time of year, but recovering hopefully into the final week to 10 days of October. And then finally, if we compare to the latest ECMWF ensembles, pretty much exactly the same. Massive drop off in upper air temperatures over the next 2 or 3 days. Drier as well, before it returns back towards average. We're kind of oscillating slightly above average, with moderate amount of precipitation. So it does look like, fortunately, the longer term isn't looking as exciting or even as disruptive as we have had the last week or two, or the next few days, but things can crop up at fairly short notice. The next few days, though, get through the thunderstorms today and tomorrow, and then eventually later this week it will be turning much colder, but the one positive we'll take from that is that it will be relatively dry as well. So anyway, thanks for watching. Hope you enjoy. Make sure you stay safe in all those thunderstorms over the next 24 hours, especially if you are in southern areas. I do think from the latest look of the latest UKV, there could be quite a bit of disruption, potentially from some flash flooding, as especially through Tuesday afternoon, those thunderstorms do look fairly slow moving, and they look pretty widespread and intense and beefy. So I would be surprised if we didn't see a warning issued, unless that UKV is an outlier. If it is just amping up a bit too much and this evening's runs die it down a little bit, then maybe no warning is issued. But from the looks of it, it could be disruptive, so do stay safe out there. Yeah, look forward to the colder but dry weather later this week. So anyway, thanks for watching, hope you enjoyed, subscribe if you're new, and I'll see you again for another video soon.